Shabbat Shalom from Temple Concord. This week our Torah portion introduces us to a talit like the one I'm wearing, although not quite like the one I'm wearing because I'm not sure they had ones with rainbow stripes back then. But we'll come to that in just a moment. The Torah portion talks about wearing fringed garments. And so what we did was take that understanding of fringed garments and create tzitzit, which are special knots that are tied at the corners of the talit, and they remind us of the commandments. Now you may wonder, why would tying knots remind us of commandments? After all, the commandments aren't supposed to tie us up in knots, they're supposed to free us. And the answer is, the knots remind us that we have to be particular, that we have to be careful, that it takes conscious thought to live a good ethical life. And so when we look at these tzitzit, when we put them on, we remind ourselves of the intricacy of the world, the intricacy of God and our relationship with God, and these serve as a reminder to do everything we can to make our world better. As it happens, this talit is the one that I received at my bar mitzvah, and in addition to those knots, there are a few that have been braided by my sisters through the years. We'd be sitting at a Shabbat service, and one of my older sisters would reach over and start braiding one of the other fringes. And so I have a bunch now that have little braids on it, and they remind me not just of my bar mitzvah, but also of my sisters and my family, which is a lovely thing. And the rainbow piece was a modern invention. Talit can come in lots of different colors and styles. This was a very popular style in the 80s when I had my bar mitzvah, and it happens to fit this week because this week Temple Concord hosted, or is hosting, the Interfaith Pride Service. It'll be on the 12th, which will be a few days from now. And so what better way to show off our connection with our brothers and sisters who are gay than to wear colors that signify pride and the rainbow. So for me, this is a multivalent talit. It's a talit that reminds me of my own family with the knots my sisters have tied. It reminds me of my bar mitzvah. It reminds me of the commandments. And it reminds me of my responsibility to treat all people equally and all people with dignity. I hope you'll join us for Shabbat services. Friday evening services are at 6. On Saturday morning we have services at 11 a.m. We'll be celebrating the bar mitzvah of Cody Pinsky. At 10 a.m. we have Torah study. And next week we have the Pride service on the 12th. And next Friday evening we have our temple's annual meeting. It will begin promptly at 5:30. We'll have services, we'll install our new officers, and then we have a wonderful dinner with sort of a Mexican theme afterwards. If you haven't made your reservations, now is a great time to do so. The choir will be singing, should be a lot of fun that evening. For now, it's a wonderful time to think about the commandments and what kinds of reminders we have in our lives of our commitments to each other and to God, and how we live those commandments, how we live those covenants that we are a part of. I believe that putting on the talit reminds me of my connections to God, to my family, to my ancestors, to my children, and the generations yet to be. And so for me, putting on the talit is a sacred act, saying this is who I am, this is where I've been, and this is where I'm going. And so for me, this is a sacred moment, and it reminds me of all of these wonderful blessings in my life. I hope you have a Shabbat where you can appreciate the blessings in your life as well. Shabbat Shalom for now. Look forward to seeing you at the temple.